There are two types of people that's in this world. The first type of person is the type of person that learn from their own mistakes. And big ups from learning from your own mistakes, but the problem with that is that often you suffer loss and there's regret. But there's a second type of person that I'm hoping that's watching this video today, and that's the type of person that learn from other people's mistakes. I saw an interview by Sprout where he interviewed people that was in their latter years and asked them what was their biggest mistakes or regrets. Some of those answers were profound, and I think if we was just to take some time and listen to the elderly, we may be able to get the wisdom without the regret.
How old are you?
73.
Can you describe to me what it feels like to be 73?
Wonderful. Depends what life you had before.
How was your life?
It was absolutely great. I was born in France, came to Canada when I was very young.
What is a big mistake that you've made or a big regret that you have that you learned a valuable lesson from?
I got married when I was very young. Like, I don't know how old you are, but I have grandchildren that are in their 30s. So I would probably have lived life a little bit more than getting married then.
How old were you when you got married?
18.
What age would you get married at, let's say, today?
Probably in my 30s.
And he got married at 18. You know absolutely nothing at 18. And I know back in the day, people used to get married a lot sooner. But for those that feel like they're in love and that they want to get married, I would follow this man's advice. It's wiser to wait. And I'm gonna tell you a couple of reasons why. One thing I always like to tell people is if you don't know your purpose, then you shouldn't even actually be dating with intention to get married because you don't even know who to pick. You wanna find someone that's gonna compliment you in what God called you to do. For example, if God is calling you to be a businessman and entrepreneur, then you don't want to find someone that's horrible with managing money. You don't want to find someone that don't take life serious or someone that's not good at following orders, because what end up happening when you marry the wrong person, you end up babysitting the person when you should be focusing on your purpose. So now the person becomes the purpose because you're always trying to get them to fall in line and assist you with what God gave you. So if you already know what God gave you, you can find somebody that's already on board, someone that can complement what you got going on. And when you're young, you just don't even know what your God created you for, so you're just picking someone. But that pick is not based off purpose. Getting married early, something you have to consider is that most of us don't know how to manage our emotions. We don't know how to have healthy conflict resolution. So we end up raising our voice, or we end up speaking out of turn, speaking out of emotions and feelings. And I don't care what no one say. When you say certain things, I don't care if you say I'm sorry afterwards, certain things you just can't take back. It changes the relationship. It changes the person's perspective of you. And when you get older, you just have more tools in your belt to manage people better. And the one thing about women, they're incubators. If you give them peace, they'll give you joy. You give them groceries, they'll give you a meal. You give them a house, they'll give you a home. They just multiply whatever you give them. But if you give them frustration and bitterness, and they're going to give you hell. And so one of the things is knowing how to navigate the emotional part of a woman, or just knowing how to manage people all together. It's just something you have when you're a little bit older.
I think like I'm 23, but physically I don't feel like I'm 23. And then the world looks at you differently and they respond differently.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I think as a woman, you feel a little invisible as you get older. When you're younger, you get a lot of attention. A lot of people, look at you and talk to you. I don't think we value older people. I think we think they're kind of like out of date.
Something this woman said that you got to consider, and this is for the women, is that obviously women are at the peak of their beauty in their 20s. And as they get in their 30s and 40s, it begins as just a steep decline. And that's when women have, for lack of better words, if I was to say an advantage, or they're at their peak price point when it comes to relationships, because men are looking at and saying they're beautiful, but too often women lack the wisdom of how to manage that beauty while you're getting attention and you have a better pool of people to possibly marry, if you have the legs of maturity in the spirit, but also the maturity to understand that you won't always be beautiful, your body won't always be that way, that you won't always draw this amount of men, you will use that time to draw someone that has your best interest, someone that loves you, because trust me, that decline is a steep cliff. Wait, let me ask you a question. Has this channel or the message you watch taught you, convicted you, or blessed you? I'm asking that you pay it forward by taking a few seconds out of your day, hitting like, leaving a comment, and activating the bell notification. It initiates the YouTube algorithm to spread this message to someone else. By simply taking a few seconds out of your day, hitting like, leaving a comment, it may be the very thing that changed someone's life. And if you're one of those people that say, I don't leave comments, I don't even know what to put in the comment section, just put the truth. Jesus is Lord.
What does it feel like to be 75?
It feels wonderful. I just signed a 7-year employment contract.
And what does it feel like to be 69?
Like I just have learned enough to get started. A little bit of walking problems, head not in tune with the body.
Every now and again I'm reminded that I'm not 40 anymore, I'm 59 and I'm 60 next year, and that's surprising.
If you could give one piece of advice to someone younger than you, what would you say?
Don't worry so much about things. I worried about everything when I was young. After a while you just think, what's the point? Just do it. Because we were mental health nurses, I can say not being happy is not the same as being ill. But I think there's a big emphasis on mental health. It encourages people to think that if they're not happy all of the time, there's something wrong, as opposed to it's just normal life. Sometimes you're happy about things, sometimes you're not happy about things.
We are in the dispensation of happiness. Everything evolves around being happy. I'm not going to stay married because I'm no longer happy. I'm going to go find another job because I'm no longer happy. A lot of people, when I say more younger people, is falling under this allure that happiness is a barometer of if you should stay or should you quit. And that's a lie. Let me tell you something. That word happy has something to do with the word happenstance. And so it's situational as if you're happy. And if situations is determining your happiness or if you have joy, then you're going to always be on this up and down emotional roller coaster and not be stable and solid in who you are. Listen, I'm okay with not being happy if there's purpose. I'm okay with not being happy if there's growth. And I think that should be the heart of the moment, because there is no situation where you're always happy. Happiness is fleeting, but growth, development, production, prospering, being fruitful, those things often come in the hardest times. It comes like, even if you was to use working out, well, muscles are developed when you're uncomfortable, when you're in pain.
What is the biggest mistake or biggest regret that you have in your life?
Well, I could have traveled more. I mean, I've traveled a lot, but I really enjoy that. I'm sorry I let one of the languages I knew when I was younger go. I also really, really effing regret that I didn't take advantage of public schools here. I could have learned to play a musical instrument. For whatever reason, I didn't do. I think it was because I didn't think my parents had enough money to buy me an instrument. I didn't do it, and now I regret it desperately.
And listen, when I tell you, young folks, do not run from that which is hard. If you have an opportunity to pick up something, even if it challenges you, go ahead, do it when you're young, because trust me, it's one of those things that's going to make you more marketable, interesting, and it actually may be lucrative down the road as you master that thing.
How old are you?
83.
84.
What does it feel like to be...
You're 85. You just had a
Yesterday I was 84.
What does it feel like to be 83 and 85?
old.
Getting old is not for the faint of heart.
Thank God my health is fine.
Me, I have a long medical history. I'm a swimmer. I can swim 1,000 yards. Can you swim 1,000 yards?
When did you start saying that you felt old?
When my son says that I should sell the house and move into a assisted living and things like that, you feel old.
How do you feel about that?
What can I do? I mean, I'm upright.
It's pretty good. I don't want to go through my life again. But we do look at all you young people and we envy you because we think you have so many choices.
Physically, I feel fine. Mentally, I feel fine. A little more tired, but I regret some of the mistakes I made.
I'm a nurse. I help people die who are much younger than me, I'm still standing. Life is sweet.
We are slowly losing our memory, and I realize that, and this worries me. Physically, I feel younger, but mentally, I feel older.
What is something that when we're younger we tend to prioritize, but as we get older we realize isn't that important?
Time. It just seems to me young people are always in such a hurry. I understand it. The world is out there to be taken, So if I go here, I go there, I go here, I go there. But I think just calm down and proceed sensibly.
The most valuable commodity that we all have is time. Time is more precious than money. Time is more precious than any other asset out there. And let me explain to you why. Because time can actually buy you back an opportunity for all the things you lost, from relationships, finances. Even time can even buy you back a healthy relationship with God if you don't have one. Without time, you can't get nothing back. I once heard somebody say, allow the younger version of you to make the old version of you comfortable, relevant, and secure. We're not always going to be young, but the decisions we make when we're young will determine what type of older person we will be, God willing.
So what matters then?
At the end of the day, it's community. The ability to connect to people and do something that's meaningful to you that maybe is productive for the world, but maybe not.
Stuff. The older you get,
Like
the more you go,
stuff.
yes, you're going, why do I have all this stuff?
I can relate to that. I look around my house like, why do I have all this stuff in this crawl space? And when am I ever going to crawl in here and use any of those things? But in the back of our mind, we think that one day we may need it and we'll have it. So when I went on a vacation to Hawaii, it was one of my greatest lessons I learned, just vibing with everybody out there in Hawaii. And if you don't know, Hawaii is very expensive to live out there. So most people, or your regular people, have 2 jobs or 3 jobs to survive. And so as I'm talking to the natives out there, they're telling me how they live. And so they work 2-3 jobs, but they have these small studio apartments and living spaces, but they don't live like we do on this side of America for stuff. They live for experiences. They're living to get boats. They're living to have barbecues off the beach. They're living to go fishing on a big yacht. They're living for experiences. And somehow on the rest of America, it feel like we're living to acquire things. And that's something to think about. Like, those things don't provide awesome memories. It may make things comfortable. It may even make you look good. It may even provide some type of status in other people's eyes, but the experiences are for you.
Is there something that we tend to prioritize a lot when we're younger, but as we get older we realize isn't actually that important?
Yes, worrying about women.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yes.
Better be careful.
I never worried about earning a living. I was a chemist. You gave me money, I made crap out of it.
We worry about what everybody else thinks of us and what we look like. It's rubbish. Our cosmetics and our hair and our face. You guys don't have to worry about it so much, but we women, we're encouraged to spend a lot of money on it. It's a waste of time, waste of energy, waste of life.
She says something that makes me think of a Bible verse, and I may slaughter this, so be gracious to me, y'all, but it says, beauty is fleeting and favor or charm is deceitful, but a woman who praised the Lord should be honored. And I think too often, I'm talking to my ladies, you guys anchor your life to how you look, how that dress make you look, how the makeup, the weave, the hair, the highlights. And too often it becomes your identity. But the problem is, if that's the only part of your life that you're focusing on, I think, and this is coming from a man's perspective, what you fail to understand about men, yeah, your beauty may open up a door and make us want to get to know you. But if we start talking to you and you have no depth, no character, you have no femininity, you don't have a positive vibe about you, then you're still unattractive no matter what you do to the outside of your body. It is the interior that actually can take a woman that's not that attractive and make her beautiful in the eyes of a man when he sees that she's soft and warm and welcome in a safe space and can be a cheerleader to rally around this man's vision and purpose. That makes a person beautiful. Yes, again, the exterior may draw a man to you, but the interior will make him stay.
What is one regret that you have or one mistake that you have made that you learned a valuable lesson from?
Not being kind enough and generous enough. Getting too caught up in someone hurt my feelings or they didn't do things the way I thought and getting rigid about it instead of just going, you know what, it'll all work out in the end.
I think sometimes when people do us wrong, when people don't meet our expectations, we may not always just attack. Sometimes we do this passive aggressive thing where we withdraw ourselves. And this is something I actually literally had to repent about recently. And I want y'all to hear this. I was just having relationships with people that I felt like I was putting forth a lot of energy and I wasn't getting that type of energy in return from certain people, or people just really had an indifferent relationship with God, and it made me just pull back. And God kind of convicted me on this because I pulled back in my own strength. And something God revealed to me is, if I'm your Lord and Savior, you shouldn't pull back in a relationship unless I tell you to. I think about God and you think about Judas. Judas was literally stealing from the Lord and eventually he betrayed him. But the Lord never drew back. He continued to have a relationship with Judas because it was literally the Father's will that he used Judas to set Jesus up for his purpose. And sometimes I understand we have to protect our heart and guard our hearts with all diligence because out of it flows the issues of life. But sometimes we're just doing things because people make us uncomfortable. They have prickly personalities and simply we so immature and we're trying to protect ourselves instead of letting God protect us. And I think that's just hard for us to grasp, but I've repented and said, Father, forgive me from pulling back. I only should pull back in a relationship when you prompt me, because you are Lord and not me.
I think we waited until we thought, oh, we can afford that. It would have been much more fun to travel when we were younger at less nice places. So we didn't start really traveling until we were about 50. So yes, we can afford nicer places to go, but it would have been much more fun to have done some backpack stuff. Right. You know,
I was too competitive sometimes at work back in the old days where I felt that winning was what was important. And I probably didn't treat some people very nicely.
That came at the expense of
friendships and of my own comfort. Now, looking back and kind of going like, ew, I did that.
If you went back in time and could redo it, what would you have done?
Really treat people as you want to be treated.
Sometimes when you make a choice when you're in your 20s, you don't realize the implications of how things are going to roll out in your life.
And when you're making decisions early, oftentimes you don't see how that decision snowballs. And if it's a good decision, it could snowball in your favor. If it's a bad one, it could snowball and be the very thing that keep you from flourishing, keeping you from having healthy relationships. So if we could sometimes get out of the emotion of the moment and see this thing from a place of wisdom. Because if someone asks me what wisdom is being able to see the end of a thing from the beginning. And so try as much as you can. And prayer helps me get to that place where I'm seeing things from a bird's eye view and not necessarily through the lens of my own eyes.
What is the biggest mistake that you've made that you regret?
Oh, let's get very personal. I married too young. I wasn't grown up yet. I was very early 20s. My first wife was 20, and we were still developing. I think mid to late 20s before one gets too permanent with anybody, because you're still changing. That's my biggest regret, I think.
I'm seeing that reoccurring thing with people getting married early and saying it was a huge problem. More so because they didn't have the tools and maturity to navigate it.
Keep active, don't smoke, don't drink, and have fun, enjoy yourself.
Don't be a follower. Be an independent mind. Have your own judgment about things. Otherwise, you are going to become a robot. We used to, when we were young, make sure that we would write a beautiful letter with the right words, right style, etc. This cannot exist anymore because you only communicate via this thing, which I don't even give it a name. Tap, tap, tip, 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 tip. It's like a telegram. It's a monstrosity.
Relax.
Show me the same respect as you show to any other human.
Don't look at the critics because it'll throw you off your game. You stay true to your vision.
That's so true. No matter what you do in this life, I don't care if it's art, business, there will always be people that's on the outside looking in, critiquing what you're doing and saying what they would do. And you know what? What they would do may work for them. But you're wired differently, so you're going to have to do things in a manner that's best for you. And this makes me think about David right before he fought Goliath. And King Saul at that time tried to put his armor on David, and David was walking around in his armor, and he was like, I can't go out in this. This your armor. First off, you got to think about it. Saul was a huge human being. He was way bigger than David, so I could see the armor being too big. But David says something that was so interesting. He said, I haven't proved this. I haven't done war in your armor, so it's not going to do me a benefit. And David did the wise thing. He went and did what he know to do, and he pulled 5 smooth stones out of the river to defeat Goliath. And I'm telling you guys, I know what people may have your best interest in trying to tell you how to handle a situation, but sometimes because you're not wired like them, you got to do it the way you would do it.
We don't all have the same opportunities, and it's up to us to make sure that others have the same opportunities we do.
Some of the things that we're looking for is not presented to us like, come and be a CEO for me. No, God often presents opportunities to be a CEO, to be a millionaire, to have your own church, or whatever the case may be, in seed form. It's not going to be all the glitz and glam. It's going to be a seed form opportunity. I even use myself. I started my job at an entry-level position. It was a seed form doing something I absolutely hated. And here I am 17 years later at the very top of that food chain, but it came to me in a seed form. It was not given to me with all the glitz and glam and look what I'm going to do for you. And I think sometimes the opportunities, we all have the same opportunities in a sense, but it's not presented to us in the way we think it will be. And he who has an eye to see will be able to see that this is a great opportunity and work their opportunity and see where it takes them.
Don't take out more than you put in.
Probably try and do the best thing you can by yourself. And then when you know and love yourself, you can actually give a little bit more to other people.
Never do anything that might cause remorse, because remorse is something that you cannot repair.
Turn a cheek. If someone comes at you or yells at you or insults you, look the other way.
Don't worry about what people think. Don't worry about the feedback you're getting. I mean, take the feedback because that helps you refine what you're working on and it can be useful, but just stop worrying so much and just do something interesting and that's it.
Don't put off to tomorrow what you can do today.
Just be a good person. If you're a good person, somehow everything works out to be good. Thank you. My advice.
Okay. I'm going to have to give some pushback on that statement. Be a good person and everything will work out. I wholeheartedly disagree with this. And this actually is what put me in a very dark place. And I'm going to share this with you guys. I was in a marriage for roughly 15 years. And during that time, this was the first woman. I gave my life to the Lord, and shortly after I got married, and I was in my early 20s, like they're talking about, and I was doing the right thing. I was a good guy. I was seeking God. I had never cheated. I was broke at first, but I eventually figured out how to provide for my family, and I'm having Bible studies and praying with them and leading. And I'm not saying I was perfect by no means. I have done a lot of things incorrectly because I hadn't had a lot of people to show me what a healthy marriage looked like, but doggone it. And from his sense, I was a good person. I was doing the best that I can do. And over time, the relationship started to fall apart. And eventually, the woman who I considered to be my best friend became my worst enemy. And there was even moments where I was fasting for this woman and hoping God would change her heart and her mind. And it wasn't happening. And it drew me to a place of darkness because it made me consider something. If I do the right thing, because this is what kind of like what planted the seed in me is this prosperity gospel, is that everything's supposed to work out in your favor and everything will work out in your favor. And you just speak, confess, and everything will turn around. And I was doing everything. And I had this mentality. Let me be clear. I had this mentality. If I do my part, God's going to do his part. But the problem was this: those promises are not necessarily in the Bible. There are promises that said that there were men and women of faith that did everything they were supposed to do and did not get the promises in their lifetime, that they will see them over in heaven, or people that thought they was going to get certain things, their children saw those things and not necessarily them. So I think when we tell people everything's going to work out in this world, we're doing them a huge disservice, because that's not what the word says. The word talks more so about, in this world there will be many tribulations, but be of good cheer, I've overcome the world. It says persecution come for the word's sake. It's telling us to deny ourselves, take up our cross and die. Like this, Jesus didn't necessarily promise us prosperity in every aspect of our lives. But we have to have the heart to understand that maybe the thing that's not working out is God using it to perfect us inside, to give us an opportunity to see what it's like to be him and walk this earth and be kind to others and still get mistreated. My point in this is, if you go into it thinking everything's going to work out all the time, you're going to be sorely mistaken and frustrated when it don't. I hope I said something to bless you guys or provided some type of wisdom to make your latter years better than your early years. As always, you ain't got to be concerned. If you plug in, I'm going to be right here to say
what the church won't say.